I think in our ICU the average length of stay is about 5 to 6 days. But we know from the Prospect 1 study we published that in patients who are transitioning from enteral nutrition to oral nutrition after being discharged alive from the ICU, that the intake of nutrition, especially the protein intake, is very low, around 50% of the target. And I think this phase of their recovery is important because in ICU we have a lot of inflammatory processes ongoing, and the effect of our nutrients are less effective to induce like muscle protein synthesis. But during the recovery phase in general wards, when they start exercising and inflammation resolves, then there is a window of opportunity to give them tube feeding. And we shown in this study that when you take out the nasogastric feeding tube too early, you see a huge drop in intake of about 50% in energy and proteins. So we are now embarking on a new study to look, can we close this gap by a more tapering protocol for the tube feeding while we enhance the oral intake of the patients, also in combination with oral nutrition supplements. But I think during this phase of post-ICU care, we should give patients more enteral nutrition by tube feeding. We should give them more oral nutrition and supplements or enhanced protein-enhanced normal feeding. And I think that's the future to go, because the period in the ICU for some patients is only limited, but the effect of ICU stay after ICU is very long. So many patients have performance issues for after 1 year or even up to 5 years after being charged from the ICU. And I think nutrition therapy can make a difference there. Also, when you treat patients for a long time with enteral nutrition, you have to think about what are the components in the enteral nutrition and what is the effect on the environment and what we are doing, what are the sources of our proteins in the product. So I'm really very excited about this idea of using completely plant-based products. But for me it's also important what is the protein quality. So what is the composition of the amino acids? And I know your products have been tweaked into an optimal composition of plant-based proteins. But I think we also do some studies to find out whether the effect on muscle protein synthesis or on the outcome of ICU patients is similar to the more animal-based products we have experience with now. So that would be a target for future research, and also the effect maybe on the microbiome of these products could be interesting also to see whether this affect the long-term consequences of ICU stay. So could it be that when you use plant-based products that you could have a reduction in post-intensive care syndrome problems? That would be very exciting to see in future studies.